Do 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 do.
Do. Shut this door.
All right.
Hey.
Okay. I think we're good. So, folks, we had some technical difficulties, but we are back. I don't have the software or the knowledge to edit this together, so it's now going to be a two-part interview. um, but I'm just going to put them both up on YouTube at the same time, and hopefully people watch them in the correct order. So we were talking about your introduction to horror at 17, and I was asking, what year was that? When were you 17?
90 something, 95? Feels like 95, 90, 95. Yeah.
So I think I'm safe to say that I would have given you, based on your music background, I probably would have suggested you read The Scream by Skip Inspector.
Yeah, probably would have been good back then, but I don't think he's kind of, my buddy was kind of just basically mainstream stuff too. I mean, I don't even remember him being huge into horror, but he had some Stephen King books, and he just gave me one. But,
so you said Stephen King and Anne Rice. So
yeah.
How did you graduate into other authors?
Well, it was the greatness of having Borders at the time. Fucking store was awesome, and the horror section was amazing. And it's like, I remember I purposely went in to look for something other than King and Rice. I wanted to see what else is in there, and they had tons of stuff because it was still the heyday of the leisure books, horror stuff. But I think I went in and I picked up all kinds of books based on like the cover and reading the back. And I went home I grabbed The Rising by Brian Keene and The House by Bentley Little. And I fucking loved both of those books. Like it just broke my brain in all the best ways. Both of those books did. And they're completely different styles, right? Keene's raw and like in your face, and Bentley Little's like macabre and weird and fucked up. But it's all like, they were both so good that I was like, yes, I want all of it. I gotta dive all the way in with this stuff. And I just kept going. I read those really quick and kept going back and grabbing more books from the Borders horror section. I missed that.
Yeah, I missed that. I'm glad that Barnes and Noble now has a horror section. It's not nearly as good as what Borders had.
Right.
But see, now
it's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Back in the right direction.
As an older gentleman, I go back to B. Dalton and Walden books. And I see 17 it surprises me. That seems older, but I guess if you weren't a reader, because I mean, I was reading horror as a kid, not necessarily, a big adult stuff, but definitely anthologies. There was one called Shudder that I distinctly remember reading, and the cover. The only two stories I remember, there was The Monkey's Paw was in it. And then there was a story, I don't remember the title. I believe it was written by Robert Bloch. Jeff Strand had actually read this book way back on the Horror Mall forums. I think it came up. And he was like, yeah, I read that book. But there was this great Robert Bloch voodoo type of story. But I always looking for horror books at Walden's, and, picking up McCammon. Robert R. McCammon, so great. Skip Inspector. The Abyss line from Dell, I believe it was. With Poppy Z. Bright, Kathy Koja. I can't even remember all the authors. And it was weird. It was a different type of horror. They branded it as this sort of cerebral horror, maybe. I don't know if I'm being accurate there, but yeah, I just remember haunting those shelves for any different horror that I could find back in the heyday. And then Leisure was so good. I bought The Rising paperback the day it came out. I had never heard of this Brian Keene guy.
Who is this guy?
But I would go to Borders 2 or 3 times a week.
Wow.
I worked, it was between work and home.
Yeah.
So I would always go on Tuesday when the new books were out. And then sometimes I would go a little later in the week, and then I'd always go on Saturday, especially if it was nice, because I could then go sit out on their patio and read.
Yeah.
But I was there the day that The Rising came out in paperback. And I would go, if something looked interesting, I'd go and pick it up and sit down and read the first chapter.
Yeah.
And The Rising had me.
Yeah, of
and
course.
That was the book that I'd been buying leisure books, but simply because they looked interesting, not because they were leisure. The Rising is what actually put Leisure as a publisher on my radar.
Yeah.
And I started buying almost every book they put out every month. I remember I bought my first Edward Lee the same day.
Right? Did you ever join the horror club?
I didn't, because they did have some authors I wasn't a huge fan of.
You didn't dare to do that.
So it was just...
It was so cheap, though. It was crazy.
I knew I was going to Borders. I had the membership. And they always, even if I didn't have a coupon, they would give me, like, everybody at that store knew me by name. Right. I was there so often. So even if I didn't have a coupon, they'd give me the coupon. So I could go. I knew when the books were coming out. I'd go on release day, and I could be like, yeah, I'm taking both this month, or I'm definitely taking this one. I'm not a big fan of this particular author, so I'm going to leave that one behind. Right. But man, I kind of miss those days.
Really miss those days, man. It's crazy. It's
but
crazy.
It is nice again that Barnes and Noble has a horror section now, and they have Flame Tree Press occasionally.
Yep.
I picked up Queen of the Cicadas not long ago.
I need to read that one still. That's that one just came out, what, in June? I think it came out
June. Not long ago at all. I had just read Goddess of Filth and was excited. I had heard that some Barnes and Noble had them. So I went and they happened to have it on the shelf. I picked it up. And actually last time I was there, they had another copy. So they seemed to be keeping it in stock. But I have not been there since the release of August Eyes. So I don't know if they have that one on the shelf or not. At our Barnes & Noble, anyway.
I don't know how they choose these things. Certain stores have managers that, or whatever, that know. Like I know Chris works in Florida at one, and he always orders all the Jan stuff and gets their inventory good. So sometimes it's the manager or whatever that kind of watches over the horror section that makes sure you get Flame Tree in there. But I hope it gets big enough so that every one of the stores starts getting at least a couple of the titles. You know what I mean? Be nice. I mean, we're distributed by Simon and Schuster now, so we're supposed to be able to get this stuff to wherever we need to get it to go. But like with my book, we just released on last Tuesday, and there was some sort of hiccup with getting the books to Amazon and everything. And it's like, it was so difficult to like try to promote the book on release day and then have people only be able to order the ebook at the moment, or you could order the other copies, but there was going to be a delay. So we've since worked on that. I think they're getting it straightened out. As I've been talking to the publisher, I've been talking to Flame Tree all week about it, and it's supposed to be by the middle of next week. You're supposed to be able to just order everything, but it's all available on Flame Tree's website. You can order everything there. So,
well, I think before I order online, I might swing by Barnes and Noble just to see if they have it,
just in case.
And if they do, I'll grab it there, and hopefully that'll go into some algorithm, and they'll be like, "Hey, people are buying these books. Let's stock them."
Right.
And if they don't, and I try to do that, especially with more mainstream stuff, is buy it at the store as opposed to ordering it online. Because one, I want to give my business to bookstores. Unfortunately, we don't have any small bookstores around here. But I want to give them my business. And also, again, hopefully that encourages them to, hey, let's stock more of this kind of stuff.
Right.
But there is a lot of stuff they don't have, and I'm gonna have to order it. Or a lot of small press stuff like Death's Head, Perpetual Motion Machine, I order directly from the publisher. I might be able to get it cheaper from Amazon, but I want to support the publisher and the authors first and foremost.
Yeah.
But well, let's talk about August Eyes. Tell us about it. What is August Eyes?
It's kind of I'm so bad at like the elevator pitch, but it's basically the main character is a social worker. He witnessed something as a 12-year-old, 12 or 13, I can't remember now actually, as a preteen or early teen, that he's kind of blocked out of his mind. And it starts coming back to him in dreams. Things start poking at him, and he's having this recurring dream of these two kids in this place called Graveyard Land. And as the story goes along, he's trying to figure out if he's losing his mind. What the hell do these dreams mean? And he starts thinking he might be seeing some of the things from his dreams in his day-to-day life. And eventually he starts figuring things out. And it's kind of a thriller. It's kind of a horror thriller type thing. There's a serial killer involved in it, which is something I've never done, but always wanted to do. Always knew I would eventually someday get there. But yeah, it's kind of got a thriller vibe to it too, true crime stuff. All these other things that I love outside of the regular horror world that kind of smashed into each other in this story.
All right, cool. And it's got a great cover. I love that cover.
Oh my God, I love that cover. When they sent me that, because I'm always so nervous when they said, we've got the cover, here it is. And I open it up, I click on that button and just like do this until it's up. And then I just hope it's good. And this one just is probably my favorite cover next to Blood and Rain, next to the original Blood and Rain cover.
I was gonna say which one, which Blood and Rain cover.
Yeah, the original, that one that you've got since Champagne, which I got back finally for the Alien Agenda paperback, is got that original cover again too. So
nice. Well, yeah, speaking of, I mean, I love small press covers. I think tend to be fantastic. Again, the Justin T. Coons covers on the Splatter Westerns.
He's so good.
Amazing. And I've heard some people say they're getting a little tired of it, but I love the old pulpy, sort of worn-looking covers.
Yeah.
And with as much as I love the authors, so many of the authors from Flame Tree, some of their covers are just, to me, they're meh, they're blah.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
that
I know that Flame Tree is really trying to, like, I think they try to give each author like a similar style for each of their books to kind of keep you knowing this is like a Glenn Rolfe book, or this is a Hunter Shea book, or this is a Jan's book. I think they're trying to keep them so that they all look good together, like they all fit together or whatever.
So your theme is orange?
Yeah, my theme is orange. That's right. I don't know. I like that cover too. I mean, it's simple, but I just loved I love that faded like Ferris wheel in the background. It's my favorite.
Well, I guess that's fine. And they just had their big sale. And I got some hardbacks for $5.
That's friggin' ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. But and the covers they're fine. There's just, to me, a lot of them just don't jump out at me. But I mean, the important thing is what's inside the cover.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the reason I'm always so scared when I open it. I'm like, what's it going to look like? What am I getting? And you are allowed to protest and fight for a different cover if you want to. So, to an extent, you know, they're not just going to totally ditch everything. I know one of the authors that had to fight to get his cover the way he wanted it. So, and they got it close to how he wanted. They kind of compromised, but so you can do that. But I love good covers, and when I saw August Eyes, I was like, yes, this is like way better than anything I could have come up with.
Let's take a look. Here's the original Blood and Rain.
Yes.
Love that cover. Absolutely love that. So we'll set this. I'm going to flip this stack over. So then we have Where Nightmares Begin.
I love that cover too.
Came
out a little dark I remember the copy they sent me originally was much brighter than how it turned out. But
so there you go. That's another Sam Hain. Let's see. Then we have from Sinister Grin, we've got Chasing Ghosts.
whoop, I love that one too. Scott Carpenter did that one. Same one that did Blood and Rain.
Oh, okay. Then let's see. Becoming.
That was my buddy Jason Lynch. He's a comic book artist now, actually. Him and his buddy have a comic book. He doesn't really do horror covers, but he played bass for my band for a little while, and I knew he was doing art, and I was like, dude, I want a cool cover. Can you do a book cover? And he was like, sure. So he did a few of them. He did that one. He did Slush, and he did
I love Slush. I don't have it, but I love that cover.
Yeah.
We have the Haunted Halls.
That's Jason right there too.
I like this one a lot. Very colorful. I like the one red eye.
Yeah.
Let's see. Then we have The Window.
Yes.
This looks like a mass market thriller cover to me, like something that would be on as a Riley Sager or even a Gillian Flynn or something like that.
That's what I was going for. I actually put that cover together. So.
But that's the impression that cover gives me. Then we saw this one where we're starting the orange theme from Flame Tree. Of course, this is from Alien Agenda. Love this cover as well. No, Zach McCain did that one. That's right. I was going to have Jason do it, but Zach McCain, who does a lot of stuff for Thunderstorm books, and did that one for me. I have a few Thunderstorm books, but I can't buy the limited editions the way I used to.
I know, right? It's crazy expensive, but I had to buy. I sold all of my author copies I had for my first one I did with them, which was a box full of monsters, and I had to go online. I had to go on eBay and buy a copy of that book for myself because I was like so pissed that I sold the last one. Trying to get to Scares That Care, I sold like a bunch of stuff I had to have. This was a few years ago, but I spent like $70 getting a copy of my own book. But I have it now, and it's never going anywhere. It's mine. It's gonna stay right on the shelf. So,
well, one of my favorite limited editions, even though the editor/publisher seems to hate it, is Tales from the Crust, which is from Perpetual Motion
right?
Machine. Yeah, and the hardback limited edition. The book is square. It came in a pizza box with a pizza cutter, napkins. There was a pen. There was a couple other things, but awesome. I was on their website and I was just going to order the paperback, and then when I saw what the limited edition was, I was like, I have to get that. I still have the pizza box that it was delivered in.
It's so cool.
But and another cool one was Zero Lives Remaining.
Adam Caesar.
Yeah, right? With the VHS clamshell.
Yeah, I wanted that one. I ended up getting it, but I saw that. I wanted that one big time.
That was one that
too.
What's that?
That's such a fun book too.
I haven't even read it yet.
Jesus.
But I have so much. I have over 700 unread books.
Oh yeah, we all do. I think we all do.
That's not counting digital. But that was I hadn't bought any limited editions in ages, but I saw that it was going to be in the VHS clamshell and everything, and I was like, I have to have that. Yeah. Absolutely. So back to August Eyes. Okay. You did some live readings on Facebook. Was it anywhere else?
I just started last week. I have some people on Instagram that don't do Facebook at all anymore. So I decided I was going to start doing them. I do them on Thursday nights, 9:00 Eastern Standard Time. I do Facebook at like 9 or 9-ish. And then I take a short break, and then I'm going to go on to Instagram right after and pick up on some there. But so I started over again. I just read like the first, I think I'm up to like 6 or 7 chapters on Facebook. Some of them are so short, so I just read a couple of them. And then I just started with the prologue on Instagram last week, so I'm probably going to do that probably for a couple more weeks, just because I really want to get the word out there, and especially since with a little distribution hiccup, I want to keep it. I'm just going to act like it just came out again and just keep pushing it. So I may do it for a few more weeks.
I've been watching them on Facebook, although I did miss one because I was at the movies.
That's a good excuse.
So we went to see the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So I did miss that one, but I've enjoyed them. They've been fun. And so I was gonna yell at you for not remembering your protagonist's age at the beginning, since you have just been reading the chapters.
Yeah, but I'm in so many different headspaces. Like, it's funny. The fun part to me is doing, like, I remember the same thing last year when I started reading. I did them for Until Summer Comes Around. As soon as I finished the book, I'm gone from that world. Is gone to me. I'm on to 18 different projects or reading 7 different books. It's like, I don't know what happens. I don't remember. It's like doing the readings is kind of fun for me in the fact that oh shit, I remember I put this stuff in here, or wow, like, because it's all kinds of stuff from my real life over the billion years I've been alive that I pull in here and throw in little things, like a line or two that just is something that really happened to me. Like I was talking about when John and his friend are driving around a parking lot of a grocery store, and John gets almost run over by this red Escort or something. He actually puts his foot on the hood and falls over on his bike. That happened to me for real. Like, that was something that it just happened in the story when I was writing this thing up. And it's funny to look back. I saw, like, I was looking for song titles that I mentioned because I'm trying to put the soundtrack together on Spotify. The other day I was doing that, and I saw 2 names of people from my real life that I put in there and totally forgot that I did it. Like a girl that I had a huge crush on when I was in like 6th grade. I pulled her into it, and I saw her name, and I was like, oh shit. So I messaged her on Facebook, and I said, hey, Julie, look at this. And like, she was so like excited. It was on her, I didn't even know it was her birthday. I showed her that on her birthday, and she was like, that is so awesome. I have to get this when it comes out so I can show my friends how famous I am. But it's cool stuff like that when you go back. Because like I said, when I get done, when I send it to Dawn, my final version, I'm on to whatever the next 2 or 3 books are that I'm working on. So to go back at this time of year where you go, okay, now I have to go back and I want to do these readings. It's like you get to see and remember what you were doing. So it is hard to like remember the exact ages and stuff of what's going on when you're in, like I said, 1,000 different headspaces. So now I'm writing 2 different novels right now. So it's like jumping back and forth through these 2 different worlds, plus dealing with my real life situation that's going on and trying to read the new Stephen King book and all this other stuff. So,
one of the books that you're working on now is the Splatter Western, correct?
That's the 3rd book that I'm working on. I'm actually sitting. That one's I pushed back a little bit because it's not due until December. So I pushed that one back for the moment. I'm actually working on one project that I can't say anything about yet, but the other one is the sequel to Chasing Ghosts.
All right.
And that's I signed a novella deal with Ken and Silver Shamrock. So I'm doing 3 novellas for them. Plus they're putting out my next short story collection.
All right.
That's all coming out. That's all I think coming out within the next year. You're going to get those 4 releases.
Nice.
From them.
Nice.
Nocturnal Pursuits is the short story collection that is coming out in November. And then in January, Something in the Groove, which is actually got Lee Buell and Rhiannon from The Haunted Halls are in this book. It's just another case that Lee gets put on, and
very cool.
Rhiannon back into it. I love it. It's one of my favorite things I've written. I just love the story. It's crazy, but it's good, and I just can't wait to get it out there.
All right. Well, looking at this, you've got a werewolf story. Haunted Halls, is that ghosts? Is it demonic?
Demonic ghost thing. It's hard to tell. I didn't really focus on it. Like, I just had this demonic ghost thing. I don't know. Someone says, is she a succubus? And I'm like, I don't know. She's kind of like a whole mess of all of it. You know what I mean?
And then, oddly, Chasing Ghosts.
No ghosts.
Yeah, it's that's your killer backwoods family.
Yeah.
Is that a way to put it? And then Until Summer Comes Around, which I have not read yet, but I believe is vampires.
Yep.
Okay, so we got werewolves, vampires, backwoods people, ghost demon. What about zombies? Is that something that interests you?
It never has, except The Rising. The Rising was like the outlier or whatever. It's like I love that book. And the sequel drove me nuts, but I love that too. Or the original sequel. I don't know, because isn't there like 4 books? I haven't read any more than City of the Dead and The Rising. And then there was a book called Habeas Corpus or something by Nikki Hopeman, I think. I think that's the name of the book, something like that. Those are the zombie books I like. Everything else I've tried to read, I don't care about and put down and start reading something else. But I do have one started. So I said, well, I do like zombies. It's just for some reason I don't want to read about them most of the time. But I did start one, which was one of my ideas for one of my novellas for Ken. And he's like, zombies, no, you're killing me. But if you have to, and I'm like, I don't have to, but I started one, and I really like the beginning of it. So eventually that's not going to be part of the Silver Shamrock thing, but there is a zombie book in here somewhere that's going to eventually find its way out.
All right. I mean, the thing with zombie books, to me, comes down to the characters.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's not about the zombies. It's got to be about the people in the story. So,
or that's you have to do something so off the wall like Brian Keene in The Rising.
Right.
That takes zombies and twists them.
Yeah.
But man, we're promoting Brian Keene left and right here, it seems like, or at least The Rising.
Such a great book. I mean, it deserves all the love it's ever gotten and ever will get. So,
and he has the Dead Sea zombie thing going on too.
Yeah, Dead Sea is a book that it was one of the ones that I didn't read. I think I'm halfway through it, and I don't remember where I put my paperback copy. I have it somewhere, but it got moved, and I haven't. I'm to where they get on a ship, and that's where I'm at, where I'm stopped right now. So not even halfway, but.
But see now, for me, and I know people call him the zombie guy. I don't know if they still do. He was the zombie guy for a while. I'm an Earthworm Gods guy. I love that book.
Yeah, well, yeah. What was the leisure one was Conqueror Worms, right?
Conqueror Worms, yeah.
Yeah, I have that copy still, and yeah, I loved that book. I loved like all of his leisure books are like amazing. Like his new stuff's good too, but to me, it's still like that first, whatever it was, 10 books or 7, 8, 9, 10 books he put out for leisure were like so perfect. Like every book was just as good as the next one.
Got them up on the shelf right up there. All the leisures. I actually just earlier this week read Suburban Gothic.
How was that?
It is wild.
Surprise.
But I mean, I'm a huge fan of both Keene and Brian Smith.
Yeah.
It's very violent. I mean, I would compare it to Layman or Lee. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely Keene and Smith. I really enjoyed it. I already recorded my review, but I've got a backlog, so it's not going to go up for a little while. Now I'm going to bring something up. What's that?
No, I was just saying that's one I got to pick up, but soon I got a billion other books to read, so I'm trying not to spend all of my money on books at the moment, but it's difficult.
Now, if I remember correctly, when we met at Horror Hound, we were talking books and stuff, and I believe that you said you were not a fan of The Resurrectionist by Rath James White.
No, you're 100% correct. And I
But
changed
now,
my mind.
yes. So what turned you around on that?
Oh my God. Oh, that book. That book. It's just the fact that, geez, when was that? It was 2016. We probably talked about that. I don't know if I went to another convention that year or before that. Around that time, I went to a convention and I met Shane McKenzie, and he had a copy of it on the table he was at, and I started talking about it with him, and I got all fired up about it. Like I got so mad talking to him about that book. And when I walked away, I was like, how does that book still like affecting me now? Like I tore that book up and threw it in the garbage can because I didn't want anyone else to read it.
Wow.
Because my initial thought was like, I'm going to give this to the Goodwill. I don't want it. And then I'm like, no one should read this book. I'm ripping it. I ripped it up and threw it in the garbage. I was at work at the old hotel I worked at and threw it away and didn't think about it again until I talked to maybe you or Shane. And then I got all fired up about it. And I said, fuck, maybe I liked that book. Maybe that book really affected me. Like that's pretty powerful for a book years later to still get you mad. So I found another copy of the paperback of the leisure book copy and I reread it. And I just, as I don't know, now that I've been writing for a few more years, I can really appreciate what he did, what Rath did in that book, like with the bad guy, and being like, I was so angry, and I still get angry, but I love it now. I'm like, wow, what an impact like that story has. Then I got to, like, it's like last year, the year before, I reread it and then interviewed Rath about it for a blog that a buddy of mine was doing. And yeah, it's like he's like one of my top 10 villains of all time, and that's one of my top favorite horror books now, just because of the effect, how the impact it had on me.
Yeah, it is definitely one of my favorites. I only have the limited edition right now. I had the leisure, bought it, as soon as it came out and read that. But once I got the limited edition, I gave the leisure to some. I'm like, you've got to read this. Gave that to them. I wouldn't mind having a copy of that again if I could find it, the leisure copy. Yeah, that replaced for the longest time. The Light at the End by Skip Inspector was my favorite horror novel. I've read it half a dozen times at least. I absolutely loved it. And then it was surpassed by The Resurrectionist when I read that.
So good. I have so many memories of that book from the first time I read it to the last time I read it and all the in between, like thinking about it. Well, like I remember reading the prologue or first chapter, whatever, where Dale first is a kid and all this crazy shit happens with his mom and dad. I remember reading that because I was in the Leisure Horror Club and I got that. It came in and I started reading it one morning, like it's a nice, beautiful day out. I'm going to start reading this book and being like, what the fuck? And like right at the beginning, it's fucking crazy and horrible. And I it was like a train wreck and I couldn't stop, I had to keep reading it. And did that through the whole thing, like had me right from that first chapter, like all the way to the end where I started swearing. But it's so good. It's so good. And I'm glad it all happened the way it did with me flipping out, throwing it. It's a great story. And I told Rath the whole story too about reading it. And that was a really scary process talking to him. Like he's like 10 feet taller than I am. I look at this little kid next to him saying, I ripped your book up and tossed it in the trash. But he loved the story. I think for the same reason any writer would, like for it to have that kind of impact on you.
Right. That visceral effect. For good or bad.
That's powerful stuff.
My first Wrath was The Teratologist, co-wrote with Edward Lee, and it was like I said, I had found The Rising the day it came out and bought my first Edward Lee that same day. And as soon as I read the Edward Lee, which was City Infernal, I just went nuts. Had to find more by this author. Hit Half Price Bookstore. They had
Love that story.
for $7. They had the hardcover Teratologist with the crucified fetus or whatever that thing is for $7. So I grabbed that thing and read it and was like, all right, I need to know more about this Wrath James White guy. So went online with my really shitty computer at the time and found what I could from him, which wasn't much, and then was very excited when he was getting published by Leisure and the Resurrectionist came out. But man, I love talking book stories, finding books and reading books. It's fantastic. Let's see. So, all right, we've been going for a good time here. The second time, is there anything that you want to talk about? Anything you want to bring up? You want people to know?
I've got a lot of work out and a lot of work coming out. So I would always suggest people to pick up Blood and Rain Until Summer Comes Around and August Eyes. I think if you read those three, you get a good idea of what I do. Maybe Chasing Ghosts in there too, because that's got that's another side of my work. It's more splatterpunk side.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm always looking for new readers, and I'm hoping everyone will give August Eyes a chance. And so far, the reviews have been really nice. So, except Publishers Weekly, they hate me. So they haven't liked any of my books. So
what do they know?
Someday, though, it's still a goal of mine. I'm going to get them to say, this book's all right. If I get them to say that. Yeah.
Is that your goal now?
That's one of my goals. Another goal is to maybe get an agent to try to get a bigger deal somewhere. But I'm happy. I'm happy where I'm at right now with Flame Tree. I love working with Dawn, like I said, and August Eyes is one of my better written novels, I guess. I feel like I've jumped up another step with Until Summer Comes Around and August Eyes that I want to keep getting better. I mean, you should always want to keep getting better as a writer anyways. But August Eyes was a story that I started writing in 2014 when I first sold that book to Dawn. When I sold Abrams Bridge to Dawn, I moved to a new town. It was full of cemeteries. It seemed like they were everywhere. And I said, well, this place is like a graveyard land. And when I said that, I started writing this book. And I wrote like the first 3 chapters. And I knew it was going to have a dream element that blended into the real world or bled into the real world. And I said, I'm not capable of writing that right now as a writer. I don't have the skills that I want to have to do this as well as I want to do it. So I didn't write that book. I just set those chapters aside and I didn't write the whole book until last year. So I think I just felt more comfortable with my skill set to actually write the book. And it came out, I think, really well. And I'm just hoping to keep getting better with each one. But I'm really proud of August Eyes and hope everyone will pick it up. Ebook, hardcover, paperback, whatever you want. And there's no audio yet. If I could get the audio made, I would tell them to get Matt Godfrey to do it for me because I love his voice.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to picking it up and reading it. I think this coming weekend, I'm gonna hit Barnes and Noble, see if they have a copy. If not, as soon as I get home from the bookstore, I'll be online ordering it. But you know what? Let's give some love to some other authors. So who are some new, some up and coming, some lesser known authors that you are a fan of, that people should be reading?
People should be reading. Well, I always plug Patrick Lacey. He's one of my favorite. He's not really that new now. I mean, it's been a while, but newer compared to some of the other guys. He's got a lot of work out there too. So yeah, if you haven't read Patrick Lacey, check out, what was A Voice So Soft is the last one I read by him. I think it's his newest one. He's got to have more coming out, but hold on. It's one of the only books that I actually got the Thunderstorm copy of.
Nice.
It's a beautiful cover. It just looks amazing. And it's an awesome story. So
I do have that. I have the other copy, the paperback.
The Grindhouse, I think it's Grindhouse Press that does.
Yes, I think so. Coincidentally, you are you and he are right next to each other on my bookshelf.
Best friends. Best friends. No, I always promote him. He's one of my favorite newer guys. I like the progress I've seen with Tim Meyer, who's, I think he's right up there now. I mean, and I haven't read Malignant Summer yet, which is his newest book but it's a huge book, and I'm really bad at reading huge books.
Oh, is it big? I don't have a copy of it yet.
I think it's like an 800-page book.
Oh, wow.
And it's a coming of age story, so it's probably amazing. I'm sure it is. But I love the progress I've seen from the first thing I read from him to the middle things to where he's going now. Like, it's another one of those things to watch a writer's progress where you see them really starting to get it and really find their groove. And Tim's one of those guys that's I think in his groove right now. So
my review for Paradise Club just went up last week.
Okay.
Just read that one. Well, like I said, I'm backlogged, so I probably read it a month ago, but just went up, and I enjoyed that one a lot. And I've read, the Kill Hill. I can't remember the
Kill Hill Carnage. Is that the name of it?
Yeah, whatever.
I haven't read that one yet, or Paradise Club. I was going to read Paradise Club this summer, but everything went haywire. So, but another story I really liked from Tim was Limbs is the name of it. It's a really, really interesting, crazy story that he makes work. That's probably my favorite.
Like the baby doll arms on the cover?
Yeah. Oh, I'm not even going to say anything about it because you just got to read it. It's got kind of some bizarre elements, but the writing is so strong that it makes it work. And I'm not a big fan of bizarro stuff, but it really, it's not real bizarro. It's just got a little bit of that in there, but it's really good. And that's the one that really made me see, like, wow, he's doing different things. You know, I love writers that don't just keep writing the same thing over and over again, that try to show you these different skills that they've got. And Tim's really impressing me right now. So I can't wait to read Malignant Summer. He actually, because I told him, I'm like, I can't read an 800-page book that's not by Stephen King. You know what I mean? It's just not in my things of my capabilities. And I said, it'd really be cool is if you would have made it like a serial novel, And then I started thinking, because I always use my own Calibre or whatever it is to make my ebooks. I'm like, it'd be really cool if I had if you could send me the manuscript and then I could just split it up and make my own covers and serialize it for myself. And Tim is such a cool dude that he totally did that for me. He sent me the manuscript so that I could break it up, and I have it broken up. I've only made the first one. It's on my Kindle right now, so that's cool. It's like, what author is going to do that? And Tim, so that's like bonus points. He's not just an awesome writer. He's also an awesome dude. You know what I mean? And anyone that keeps up with him online probably knows that anyways. But so you got Patrick Lacey, you got Tim Meyer. Janine Pipe, who is always shouting about me. Her short story collection is awesome. Twisted Tales. Yeah, whatever. I can't remember
Twisted Tales or Twisted Tainted Tales. I can never remember the.
Yeah, I always mix it up because of that. But I loved that, and I'm so glad I loved it. And I wrote the foreword for it. So, and I read all the stories before I wrote the foreword, and it was just, I was so scared that it was like, I hope these are all as good as I hope they are, and they were. They surpassed my expectations, and I'm really looking forward to all the stuff she's got lined up in the future. Heather Herman is another one that we talked about from my anthology. Consumption by her is the only book I've read. I think it might be the only book she has out, but she's got a new book coming out on a major publisher. I think it's The Corpse Queen or something. I can't remember the name of it, but it comes out in September, and I guarantee it's going to be amazing because I just love her style and her voice. I probably got the title wrong. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm trying to think. Those are the first four that jump off of my brain. I know there's a billion other ones. Chandler Morrison's pretty spectacular too. I haven't read much by him, but what I have, I've loved. And he's not super new either, I don't think, but yeah. And there's a bunch of these self-published authors that I've been hearing a lot about that I want to check out. I think Daniel Volpe is one. Aaron Beauregard, I think is his name, is another one. And there's another person too. I can't think of the other one. They're these, I think these kind of, maybe they're doing some splatterpunky horror. I'm interested to check out. I haven't read their work yet, but I've been hearing so much about them from so many different people that I'm loving what they're reading from them. It's kind of exciting, but it's also nerve-wracking. You know, with all the self-published stuff, it's hard to be like, it just makes more. There's so much more for people to read. It's
difficult to keep up.
Yeah, for sure.
Now I was gonna ask this way back at the beginning, in what is now part 1 of this interview series. But since you mentioned Splatter, any thoughts on the Splatterpunk Awards, which were announced last night?
Just that I'm glad I read the Magpie Coffin, and I agree 100% that should have won, and I'm glad it did, and I'm so pumped for him, for Wiley. Jesus, what's his last name?
Wiley Young.
Young. Yes, I know this stuff, but it's just jumping out of my head. Loved that book. One of my favorite books of last year. Still my favorite of the Splatter Westerns that I've finished so far, even though Triana's book is pretty spectacular. So that might at least be up with it. But yeah, love that. I love that. Was it True Crime?
True Crime.
That won the novella, right? I love that book.
Those are the 2 that I've read.
Yeah, those are the 2 that I've read too, and I loved seeing that they both won. So yeah, that's all I know. I haven't really gone over it too much. I just saw some of that come through my feed this morning, so I was excited for both of them.
Worst Laid Plans won for Best Anthology.
Yeah.
I have that. I have not read it yet. I want to say Ronald Kelly.
Oh yeah, he won the collection.
Best Short Story Collection.
Yeah, I read that too.
Wesley
Yeah,
Southard,
I love that.
Haven't read that. Wesley Southard won for Best Short Story. I don't remember the name of it, and it's not something I've read. And I want to say it's in Midnight in the Pentagram, but I could be completely wrong about that.
I know that I saw a picture of that in there, so it must have been maybe that's what it's in.
And then, of course, John Skip won the J.F. Gonzalez Lifetime Achievement.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, big fan of Skip. All right, I think that covers everything. If not, I forgot. So, and I've throat's drying out. I got something caught in there. I don't know. Where can people find you on social media?
Facebook.
Okay.
Instagram, Twitter. Those are the only ones I use. I don't use any of the new stuff or newer stuff, Snapchat or any of that stuff. Or what's the other one? The one that TikTok, everyone's using TikTok now, but I'm not on any of that. But Instagram, you can find me. If you look up like Rolfe Horror, so it's like my first initial and my last name and horror. If you look that up, you'll find me on most of the Twitter and Instagram. So, and Facebook if you're still into Facebook. So, or you can go to the Flame Tree Press website, and I've got a page there where you can order until summer comes around and August Eyes. Got a page on the Simon & Schuster website. I've got a page too. That's always cool.
I was just going to say you have that because I just saw that earlier today.
Yeah, that blows my brain out seeing that. So yeah, go to that page and order things through there. They've got like the links to like every place you can order the book from. So
all right.
Yeah.
And
come find me.
What's that?
Come find me.
And people can check out Alien Agenda.
Yeah, I have a website, but I'm so bad at keeping up with any website. Even I had my own website and I can't keep up with that. So I don't really promote those just because I don't use them. Alien Agenda, if you look up alien_pub on Twitter, that's pretty much the Alien Agenda page. I think I have it on Instagram too, but I'm not real active there. Alien Agenda is something, the reason I don't try to put out very many books a year because it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of money, and it's hard to do. So right now, yeah, if you're out there, I'm promoting pretty much these two books. Like if you want to help out If you want to read a bunch of cool short stories by a bunch of cool writers, Survive with Me. All of the proceeds go to the American Indian College Fund. So every penny that comes in for that goes directly to them. And then Brian Fata Steele's Dire Branches. This is his new novel. It's a Slavic folklore meets cosmic horror. So
interesting.
Yeah, it was a really interesting story, and I like Brian's style. So working with him, this is the second book we did. We did Celestial Seepage a year or two ago, and so this is the new one, and I love this one. So you can find those on Amazon. Amazon has both of those books.
All right, and again, brought up a question that I was going to ask way back when, since we talked about the American Indian College Fund. I don't know if you're a TV watcher. Have you checked out Reservation Dogs?
No, it's on my list. I will probably check out the first episode tonight.
I've watched the first 4, and I think the first 4 are up. I'm absolutely in love with it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to start that tonight. It's been on my list. Like I said, I've been behind on a bunch of stuff, including television. Obviously, television is like the last thing on my list that I get to, but I don't even have a TV in here. So this is my TV right here, my phone. So I'm gonna check that out tonight, I think, before bed.
All right. Okay, I think that's everything. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you people for watching. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave them in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. So I think that covers it. Glenn, if you'll stick around for a few minutes after I stop recording. But this has been the Low Budget Interview Show. I have been your host, Eric Smith, and until next time, people, read more books.